I'm Mary Marnie, and I'm a senior at Grayson High School right outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I made this box to represent the struggles that people in my community face. In order to better understand their obstacles, I brought them in and asked them a few questions about their barriers and what they plan to do to overcome them. Here are their stories. In our society, many people are defined by one label, held back by one issue, or confined to one box. What is your box?
My box would be that I am a double amputee. I have a physical disability. So when I was born, I was missing bones in my legs. So in my genetic disability comes through usually missing bones in your arms or your legs. So I had my first amputation when I was 1.5, around there, and a few weeks after that, I got my first pair of prosthetic legs. And so that would be my box.
What impact has it had on your life?
I would say it really has two impacts on my life. It's had two impacts on my life. One being that if there was something physical that I had to do, sometimes I had to think of a different way to do it. So an example of that would be like when I was little, I did gymnastics and I did ice skating. So I had to think of a different way to be able to do it. I couldn't ice skate like other people did, or I couldn't do gymnastics exactly like other people did. But I could kind of figure out a different way to manipulate my body to be able to do what they were doing. The second way it impacted my life, though, I think was at a pretty young age, I realized people remembered me when they met me because of my legs. And I thought, I need to leave good memories.
I'm Savannah. I'm a student at the Savannah College of Art and Design, and I'm an artist and the editor of my online zine, Sonic Bloom.
In our society, many people feel that they're defined by one label, held back by one issue, or confined to one box. What do you think your box is, and what impact has it had on your life?
So my box is the sort of the way that women and femme-presenting people are devalued in our society, and it's made me feel as an artist like I might not belong in a lot of the sort of gallery spaces and publications that are run predominantly by older men.
My box is probably like our income, so being like low income would be my box. And see, that's had like a major income. Like I used to hate it a lot because, everybody would be like, hey, let's do this. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll ask my parents. And it's always next time. But like, I really appreciate that because it's kind of like helped me appreciate a lot more things so that when good times do come along, then I can like really appreciate it and be in the moment.
Box is cancer. I'm Dee. I'm 48 years old and I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer almost 2 years ago. I was being tested for the leg and the hip pain, and I had an MRI, and the MRI technician hugged me before I left, and that made me call my husband jokingly and say, I think something's really wrong with me because the MRI tech hugged me before I left the appointment. And I was about 20 minutes from my house, and when I was 15 minutes from home, so I only left the doctor's office 5 minutes before, I got a call from a doctor saying that I needed to visit an oncologist. And I still didn't know why. It made no sense to me because I just had leg and hip pain, and I thought it was a pulled muscle. So did all the doctors that I had visited. Immediately after I met the oncologist, he sent me to another floor, and I had a surgical biopsy of my right breast after I'd had mammograms, and which I had just had mammograms about 6 months earlier. And to make a long story short, I had probably had breast cancer for 3 years, and it had time to spread, and it went into my bones. And like, people looked at me differently. A lot of people did. I didn't feel differently. Actually, I felt better about myself after my mastectomy. I didn't want to walk around with a tumor inside of me. I had one person tell me at the grocery store one day how brave I was to go out looking the way I do. I thought I looked pretty cute. I didn't feel like I looked bad. I think that having a neighbor who was asking me for help for a friend who had cancer, she was asking me for help and saying that I had such a positive attitude and that I was so healthy and strong. And at the end of the conversation, she called me an it because I had had my breast removed and I had also had a full hysterectomy due to the cancer. So that I was speechless.
My name is Tom Marney. I'm now 82 years old, and at the present time, the definition of my life and the box I'm in is my wife's Alzheimer's. And so that is what I do today and will for the foreseeable future is take care of my wife.
What impact has that had on your life, taking care of her?
Well, it has completely changed it. Now, many years ago, I determined that looking back at my life, it broke up into about 7-year increments. And I determined that about every 7 years, a person changes enough to be called a different person, a completely different person. So I've been married 60 years to my wife, but I was married to an executive secretary. I was married to a mother of preschool children. I was married to a mother of high school children and a high school secretary. And they were all the same woman, except she was not always the same. And then one day she did not know what a vapor trail was. And that was the beginning, I guess, supposedly of the end. But gradually she has lost the meaning of one word after another, one sentence, and so forth. And so that now is the box I'm in, 24 hours a day. I have some help, but even when I have help, I'm doing what she needs to be done.
Hi, my name is Sarfaraz Khan. I'm Pakistani, Vietnamese, and Chinese. I don't know how to word this. Your identity. I mean, as you listened to this thing before, I'm a quarter Pakistani, half Vietnamese, a quarter Chinese, and that's three different, not really different, but it's three like kind of far-flung places in Asia. And you know, your identity, it consists of your culture, it's like, so your food, language, and a common background. That's what makes up an ethnicity, stuff like that. But being all those mixtures, it's kind of like being a mutt. So not really a purebred, so to say. I've tried kind of being like mixing with these other Viet people because we share same language, but we're not the same religion. We kind of eat the same food, but I can't eat their food. I'm Muslim, they're all Catholics or Buddhists, so it always makes for some interesting conversations. It's just different with all these Viet people. I don't know why. I've never been able to hang out with them as well. I mean, I love them and all, but it just feels different. Chinese people, those, I don't really ever see any except when I go over to Chinatown when I go visit my relatives, so I just never felt like I've ever fitted in. It's always been weird being with these people, like, I mean, just looking at me, I'm like definitely different from your stereotypical Southern Asian, Middle Easterner. I'm too yellow for that. I don't know, that's something that's held me back. I've never really told anybody about it.
Have you tried to expand out of your box, and what actions have you taken?
Yes, I mentioned earlier that I have an online publication called Sonic Bloom, and we try to highlight a lot of women, femme-presenting people, and trans people's voices through like a love of music. And so definitely trying to increase visibility of other femme and non-binary and trans people is something that I've really tried to do, as well as highlighting the stories of those same people in my photography work.
How do you highlight them in your photography?
I try to primarily shoot women, femme-presenting people, and basically just not cis men, because that's what we see a lot of the time in photography and in art in general.
What impact has cancer had on the different roles you play in your life as a wife, a mother, a friend?
Well, let's see. Having a mastectomy kind of affected every part of my life, and so did radiation. Radiation, I was so happy to do it because it was something that I was actively doing on a daily basis for a while. That made me feel like I was defeating cancer, or at least, pushing it back some. And it also made my hair fall out, and it made me very sick, and it made me lose a lot of weight. And only after I did that did I feel great. They just did it on the right side of my body, and I was then able to walk normally. I didn't have as much pain in my leg and my hip, and because that went so well, my doctors then recommended that I have a bilateral mastectomy, which is removing both of your breasts.
So at some point, I kind of realized that it wasn't really an excuse for not doing well. If anything, it's a reason to try harder, to I guess get out of that area. So my parents, they do work really hard, and so obviously the goal has been to go and be super successful and get them out of that situation so they don't have to worry about anything, and neither do my little siblings or anyone in my family. And so getting out of that box has just been trying hard and doing my best to get scholarships, do super well in school, so I can't not succeed.
Have you tried to expand out of your box?
Yes. For me, with my legs, my parents did a great job of not letting my box or my disability hold me back by any way. One example of this would be an ice skating story when I was 8. I was in the middle of a mall, and there was an ice skating ring in this mall, and it was in Montgomery, Alabama, and I was ice skating around the ring, and my parents were in the mall sitting on a bench just watching me, and this girl comes out in her tutu, the type, and she's out there in the middle, and she's going around in circles and doing her thing, and I'm so I can do that. So I go out to the middle of the ring, and I have my feet down, and I push as hard as I can with my right leg to make my body spin, but when I push, I spin, but my foot stayed straight, so I fall over because my foot was on backwards. Well, the whole arena and area around the ice skating rink got completely silent, and everyone's staring at me, and the owner of the ring starts skating over to me, and my mom starts yelling out to the side, "Just turn her foot around and stand her back up." Like every good mom could do, right? And so the guy's looking at her like she's crazy, and anyway, he scoops me up in his arms and he skates me over to my parents, and my dad just grabs the end of my skate and puts my foot on straight, and I kept skating. But I think that's such a good example of the way my parents were, because my parents didn't coddle me or try to overprotect me. They were just just get your foot going the right way and keep skating.
What do you think could be done to help people with Alzheimer's get the treatment that they need early on?
Well, there are recent advances. There has been determination of a gene. I don't know what the outcome will be, but the condition, the growth of the plaque on the brain, seems to me there should be something you could do about it, and it also, I expect that when the truth becomes known, there are environmental factors that cause it.
I mean, I tried to learn my dad's language, not Urdu, but Pashto, just to, I don't know, be cool. But it's not hard. Well, it kind of is. I've become more of a polyglot. I've learned Spanish, Italian. I've learned Italian. Just, yeah, like I said, I learned Italian out of necessity. It's a very interesting language. I kind of learned French so I could talk to my cousins in France, but it's still crap. But maybe, I don't know. I think I've just become a polyglot just to run away from my issues of not being able to learn these other languages. The Mandarin and Cantonese languages, always fun to learn. And Vietnamese. I mean, that's the language I first spoke when I first started speaking. I don't like it that much. I don't know. My dad forced me, not forced, but he wanted me to go to Vietnamese school so I could learn. But I hated it there. My dad always got mad at me, and he'd always yell at me. And I don't know, I guess I intentionally got mad at it, and I started not caring. And so now my Vietnamese has gone down the tank.
In the future, what do you want to do to break down your box for yourself and others?
So I'd like to continue doing work that highlights marginalized groups, as well as putting aside my work and using part of my platform as an artist to boost the voices of other marginalized people.
And like ultimately the goal is to go back to Africa and like areas that don't have access to like the resources and opportunities that I've had here in America, and like because there's a lot of people there, and somebody's bound to be a genius that just doesn't have the opportunity to break out. So I do want to like go back there, like I don't know, build a school, help build some infrastructure, bring money, businesses there.
Awesome. I know you want to do like biochemistry.
Yeah.
Biochemistry. How do you want to use that specifically?
Well, the first thing you have to do to be successful is to be alive. And like we take that for granted, like just like healthcare and like being healthy and like knowing you're gonna live to the next day and not, die from something as stupid like the cold. So obviously like bringing medication and better access to medical care there, whether that be through like new medicines that are like cheaper and more accessible, or just like improving the production methods that we have currently for current medicines to like lower down the price and make them more accessible.
In the future, what do you want to do to break down your box for yourself and other people with disabilities?
One thing I love to do is to talk in front of groups. And I think that everybody has boxes and everybody has disabilities. So I love to share about my legs because I want so much for everyone to know that they just have to get their feet going the right way and get up when they fall down and keep skating.
I really don't know that there's a lot more that can be done.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not looking forward to being without her. So, it'll be pretty boring, I think.
Trying to make more friends with these people, with these Chinese, Vietnamese, Pakistani people over whatever I can relate with them to. That's something I've tried to do. And I've also made friends with a lot of non-Asian people just so I can feel like I belong somewhere. But in reality, I don't. And that's fine.
Great. I am positive all the time, especially with the people who might have the same condition, and also with the people who are treating me, because they have just made such a difference in my life and how positive they are. So my positivity gives them positivity, and then their positivity comes right back to me. So it's a really positive circle.
Katsia said that you can't be successful if you aren't alive. And I really want to use my degree in public health to focus on that. I want to help people in the Alzheimer's community, the LGBT community, and cancer patients get the access they need to medical resources. And I know that Tulane can give me that. I really want to help break down these barriers and these walls for people. I don't want these boxes to exist, and I know Tulane can help me eliminate them.